Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard. I'll be a host this week. Matt, you can follow me on Twitter at MattFFDynasty. And today we've got a great show coming up with a great guest. But before we get to the guest, we're gonna introduce the co-host first. And now, sadly, this week, no Ali. He's off this week, but thankfully we've managed to bring back the guy that's been missing for the last couple of weeks. We get to bring back Kev at Dynasty_Go. Kev, how are you doing? Feeling a lot better, hopefully?
Feeling a lot better. Feeling pretty nervous, actually, because we do this show every week and I've missed the last two. So it's been nearly 3 weeks since I was last on record, and just feeling a bit nervous, a bit out of practice, a bit sweaty. But yeah, looking forward to today's show. It's going to be plenty of blagging from me and you, I think, Matt. And it's going to be our guest carrying us today. But it's going to be a really exciting show. We've got 3 lads from Yorkshire, so what can go wrong?
Absolutely, and you've teed it up nicely for me to introduce as guest today. College fantasy football expert, co-host of the No Huddle podcast, and definitely one of the brightest minds in the Devy circles. And I'm sure if you follow him on Twitter, you'll know that already. So we give a warm welcome to Jordan Merritt. You can follow on Twitter at JordM87. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm good. Cheers, lads. Thank you for having me. Is there something in the terms and conditions where I have to pay you after that introduction or something? Because it seems a bit too kind.
No, it's fully deserved, mate. Honestly, I know me and Kev both big fans of you and the No Huddle podcast as well that you've got going on at the minute. You've revamped it, haven't you, this year? And it's great with yourself on it and James coming together to put a great podcast together. So yeah, it's a lot of fun having you on. And as Kev said, 3 Yorkshiremen. So apologies to anybody that doesn't understand the lingo that starts going. I'm sure once we all get flowing, it'll start to get more and more Yorkshire. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a rate show.
It's going to be a rate show. And with that, we'll get straight on with today's show. We're going to be talking all things Devy. First off, we're going to get Jordan to give you 3 tips to set yourself up for success in this format and discuss some of these 2023 eligible prospects and everything you need to know heading into those rookie drafts next year. So first off, Jordan, can you just give us a brief outline of what Devy is for anybody that doesn't know and some key tips to success in that kind of format?
I think the best way to say what Devy is just basically dynasty with an extra draft. But that extra draft is college prospects before they get into the rookie drafts. And obviously it's fun to pick out the college players, especially if you follow college football. And even if you don't, it's a good way to get into it, especially, you know, smaller drafts with 4 rounds. I know we've just done one with you, Kev, that's usually started up, that's 10 rounds, which is quite in-depth, but you can get ones that are 3 or 4 rounds that are quite good. And it doesn't mean that the rookie draft is like non-existent, because you still get the rookie drafts are still quite good as well. Like this season just gone, there were a lot of Kenny Pickett knocking around, so you do get people coming through. So these rookie drafts are just as important, but you do get that extra draft where you can pick out your Bryce Youngs early, so no one else can nick them off you for finishing last when it comes to dynasties. And I don't know about success, Matt. I know you said give us some success with these 3 tips, but we'll have a go. And I think the first one, I think it's the same with any fantasy that you're playing, if it's dynasty or best ball, whatever. I think you've got to have rankings. You know, you've got something you've got to have. It gives you, even if you can't make your rankings yourself, just find someone you trust and use their rankings. I know a lot of people don't have time to make their own, like some of us do, but if you do, just find someone that you trust. There's a lot of people out there that play Devy. There's a lot of people that play other formats as well. So that's one thing that I think that's the major thing, really. You know, when you're drafting, don't draft blind. And number 2 is one that it can be a bit of a hypocrite, really, because I've done a few things where I go against this. But look, when it comes to quarterback position, just look for proven ability. You know, people that have come in college. Don't try chasing these future commits and freshmen. You know, like Arch Manning. Don't be going too early on Arch Manning, because he looks a fantastic prospect. You don't know what you're going to get. You got to look at people like Spencer Ratler and DJ Ugalele. You know, very talented guys, but as it stands going into the season where they could commit into the draft, struggling. Spencer Ratler, we'll talk about him, I'm sure, soon. But just don't go chasing them, and just, unless you've got like a gut feeling about someone, just stick to the proven talent. And that goes for all positions, but quarterback especially. We know how important it is going into dynasty to have some solid quarterbacks. And the third one is don't draft need over talent. I put, for instance, if you've got like your dynasty position, your dynasty league, and your wide receivers are looking quite old, Doesn't mean you have to go and draft wide receivers with your first round if there's a better running back there or a better quarterback there. Just stick to your rankings. You can go off them a little bit, I suppose, but just don't go reaching for someone that you don't have to, because these guys can still be traded for value as well. It's not someone you have to put on your team. Some people can be traded, especially I know Kev did a fantastic trade in ours. Bijan Robinson's a fantastic player, but you got some good value for him, and you look at the extra players he's got that could be beneficial. And I don't know if he'll end up kicking himself when Bijan Robinson comes around after his first year, but it's still it doesn't mean that you have to draft him just because you got number one. I think you've got some good value there, Kev. So always be thinking open to trade for these guys, no matter how much you like them.
Yeah, I'll take that. Cheers. That's. I think the reason I traded back is because my dynasty draft was so poor. I thought let's blow it up a bit. But yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Devy, it's becoming a fan favorite. I think, like you just mentioned, Jordan, Kev setting up a league. I had to politely decline this one because I'm already in a couple, and to be honest, I always feel completely out of my depth with in terms of Devy. I try and follow his college. Obviously, when it comes up to the NFL draft, that's when I start digging into the prospects. But I feel like Devy is getting more and more popular. I think I joined my first one last year, maybe the year before. Jordan, how long have you been playing Devy for? Because I feel like the actual format, is it as new as what it feels, or is the people obviously that are into college football, has it been going around a lot longer than maybe we think?
Yeah, to be fair, this is only my second season. We're playing Devy, and to be fair, it's only my first season playing fantasy, to be honest with you. So I'm like, well, that's kind of a lie. I've been playing fantasy a long time, but I don't count these NFL fantasy drafts where two or five people are just left hanging at the end where everyone else has pulled out. They're not real drafts, are they? And obviously, I enjoyed them at the time, and I ended up finding some people on Twitter got me into just normal redraft and dynasty. And like I say, it's only my third year, but kind of once you get into it, you just have to go into deep end, don't you, and really get invested in it. You can't really half-heartedly do it. So yeah, it was only my second year playing Devy, so, and I've enjoyed it. Like I say, it is quite new. There's quite a few. Obviously, you two guys have been playing longer than me, but Dynasty and everything's been around longer. But there's a lot of new formats sweeping over into the UK. I know you had Tom on last week with best ball. That's really picking up. It's good for me as well, because obviously when you're watching so much football, you can play best ball and the drafting's good, and you can just sit back and watch. And obviously, I'm picking up best ball here, and I'm on for Devy. So I get stop doing that. But yeah, Devy is one of them that's coming over with best ball and things like that. That's hopefully more people are getting involved in.
Yeah, I think everyone gets excited out for these rookie drafts. Obviously, Devy's just getting you excited a little bit more early, isn't it? There's nothing better than, as I say, I know I've only been in these Devy leagues a couple of years, but even just going back a couple of years, when you find one of these guys that hits, it feels even more sweet, the fact that you've had these guys on your roster for a year, watch them, or 2 years, watch them develop in college and then bringing them through. Kev, I don't know how much you're into your college football. As we talked at the top of the show, I'm not super into college football, but I do try and keep an eye on things. What's your feelings towards Devy? Obviously, if you're not quite as into college, obviously Jordan's the college guy that we brought on, the expert. But what about yourself, Kev?
Well, I think first of all, it's kind of like doing homework or prep for your dynasty leagues, getting your thoughts on your players a year early, and that's going to help you sort of find values, avoid landmines as well, I guess. In terms of me, I do like playing Devy. I'm in a couple of leagues, maybe like 3 or 4 now. But I'm really throwing myself into it this year. I think it's something that there's no point having one league and just trying to wing it, because you're not going to gain anything. So, I just say to anybody that's wanting to start Devy, just go all in for it, and make sure you're following a lot of cracking people like Jordan, etc. And just go all in for it. There's no point just having one league. Have loads of leagues.
Well, you need it, because, like Jordan said, it's hard sometimes. You think you've got these top college prospects, and you just don't know what can happen in college football. So, it's definitely a really interesting format. As Jordan said, it's becoming more and more popular, and I think it's going to be competing with Dynasty soon, because everyone's just getting so excited. Everyone wants that head start, and everyone wants to be the first one to fall in love with these college guys. So I definitely think it's becoming more and more popular every year that passes. So with that, we're now going to come on to the second part of the show, the main part of the show, and we're going to talk about some of these 2023 prospects, focusing on the higher end of the talent scale. And and just having a look at these guys that are going to be going early in drafts, early in your rookie draft. So, Jordan, we're going to first get you to give us some rookie targets. So, give us your first target in the 2023 rookie class.
And it's quarterback Anthony Richardson, from Florida. He's always been a high prospect on a lot of people's list, but the situation last year kind of like it was dreadful. Florida, Dan Mullen, who's not there anymore, had him and Emory Jones, and they were just switching them out all over. They didn't know if they were coming or going. So Emory Jones would come in, do something awful. Anthony Richardson would come in, throw a 60-yard pass, touchdown. He was brought back out, Emory Jones back in. And they were just all over the place. There were no consistency there for Anthony Richardson to play, but you could see what he did bring. He's a dual threat. He's got a big arm. It goes against. This is what I was saying about earlier. It goes against with my unproven. With my number 2. Tips for Devy's success, so it goes against that because he hasn't got the proven ability, even though we've seen flashes of it. But I think one thing that's important as well, if you've got a good feeling about someone, you've got to stick to it. If you see, I know you guys are a bit more into analytics than I am and stuff, but when I look at Richardson on film, I do see someone who's really good. It's talk coming out of spring camps is he's working on his mechanics and his the playbook reading's really good, so it's looking really good for a really good season, and someone who could really propel himself up. Like if he goes into the draft in 2023, which I believe he will, with a good season, he could easily be a first round quarterback. So yeah, I could be proven wrong there and look silly, but my gut's telling me that this guy, if he puts it all together this year, that I know he can, he's going to be one of the top prospects in quarterback. behind Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I think with Anthony Richardson, he's definitely someone that I'm interested in. I think when you're looking at college prospects and how they're going to sort of move into dynasty, you're looking for Kanama QB, and he's got the size. He's 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds. He's rumoured to be running a 4.4, so that's frightening. That's like a faster Cam Newton at that size. I think the worry is inexperienced, 66 passes in college. But yeah, he's got to play the full season this year, and that's going to massively impact his draft capital. I think if he's getting first round draft capital in the real draft, then yeah, he's going to be someone I'm really, really targeting. If he doesn't, then it could be a Jalen Hurts or it could be a Malik Willis. So round 1 capital will be massive. It's a really tricky class. There's lots of talent there, but outside of the top 2, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, I think it's wide open, and we're expecting there's going to be 4 or 5 QBs in round 1. So if he's one of them, great.
Definitely great for me, because I think I've invested quite a lot of them in the league. But you're right, there is quite a lot behind these 2 guys, and all it takes is, like you saw with Kenny Pickett, all it takes is one good season to propel yourself up. And like you said, he hasn't seen a lot of him, but again, last season that was no fault of his own. It was damn well messed around. But this guy, he is the number 1. If he comes out flying, and there's people behind him and can take his place if he doesn't perform. But if he does perform like I think we can, then I think the ceiling's so high for him, and hopefully he does put it all together, like I said, for me especially.
Yeah, I think you both touched on it. I think for me, it's that inexperience, that question of the unknown, really. Only 556 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So there's obviously that risk there with somebody like Richardson. But I think you both touched on it, the fact that it is this Kunami quarterback, that rushing upside. It's what we all fall in love with when you're talking about quarterbacks and fantasy football. Putting up just under 500 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. We know there's potential there for this to be a really exciting quarterback. And like you said, Jordan, if he can find his way into that first round of the real NFL draft, then yeah, it's gonna raise his profile now to no extent. I mean, this is a guy that I've heard a lot of buzz about him this offseason. It's somebody that I've seen in my Devy drafts, people getting excited and reaching through and grabbing him early. So yeah, I definitely think he's somebody that can definitely increase his profile, get to the top end and these guys that you've talked about. And as I say, that rushing upside, it's what we love in fantasy. So yeah, a great one to start off with, and one that, as I say, I think in Devy you can get him a little bit cheaper than what you might do in your rookie drafts come next year if he does increase that profile and get that first round draft capital. So with that, we're going to move on to now your second target and go into the running back position.
It's running back Tank Bigsby, who I managed to pick up in Kev's dynasty league that we mentioned earlier in the second round after a few targets, which I was quite surprised with. everyone seems to be fading Tank Bigsby because it seems to be like Auburn were bad off and on the field last week. There was so much drama going around Auburn, with the coach and like COVID and things like that, that people have started for some reason letting Tank Bigsby, slip down. But last year he had over 1,000 yards, from 200 something carry. He can show he's the workhorse guy. He can do a lot of things well. He hasn't got that breakaway speed, but when he's out in front, once he gets that room, it's very rarely you get, people are catching him. The only thing I like to see in a running back is pass catching. Needs to work on that a little bit, but obviously something he can do. Hopefully this year could propel him even more. But I can't remember the guys that he fell behind now, Kevin, in our draft. I think Sean Tucker was one.
Yeah.
And Braylon Allen was going to be a fantastic prospect, and he's done it in his first year, but we're going to see what he does later on. But Tank Bigsby's proven in his 2 years that he's been at Auburn. He's been the best player last year by far on a failing team. And I don't understand why people let him drop, to be honest with you. I think he's going to be a talented NFL back for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely a crazy one for me because obviously when me and Kev a couple of years when we started getting into Devy, this guy was right up there with Bijan as like one of the top running back prospects in college football. And like you said, John, I don't really see why people are starting to now fade him. It's not like he's put up dud numbers. You just touched on it, just under 1,100 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. And then, like you said, showing that little bit of receiving work as well, 21 receptions, 184 yards. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is going to be a whole new look offense. I believe they had like 18 transfers at Auburn. I believe they've changed the team around a lot. So I feel like with Tank staying there, I feel like the proven guy, he's going to be the focal point of this offense, as if he wasn't already, with the production that he's had. I just feel like that this is going to be a Tank Bigsby show, and I feel like he can definitely raise his profile even more, and I feel like he can start creeping his way back up to the top end of the running back charts. I believe on Keep Trade, I'm not too sure what their Devy rankings are out today, how accurate they are, but they've got him at RB4, and I don't know, that feels like he can creep his way up to maybe being the second running back out of this 2023 class. So I think this is someone that's a great target with that slight decline currently in his value.
I think their rankings were a bit iffy at times.
I did think when I had a look, I'm pretty sure I saw Jameson Williams on there, and I thought, not sure I can quite trust these, but I thought I'd bring it up.
But Fantasy Pros and Undroppables are quite good if you can't get your own rankings. But yeah, they're okay. But yeah, like you said, Jameson Williams have to be on there as well. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, getting back to Tank Bigsby, I think that my point, what I said, I think it's just because there's so much drama with Auburn, and you mentioned that there's a lot of change. It's been a lot of change since the 2 years he's been there. I think they've had they've had 2 head coaches. I think they've had 3 offensive coordinators now. It's never going to help you going forward as like going into the NFL. Like you want these guys to help build you up and train you into the best guy going into the NFL. Obviously, you're going to get better over there, but you want to be the best version of yourself leaving college. And when you've got so much change on your team, it's not going to help you. But when you're still putting up 1,000 yards, I think it was 600, 700. I can't remember what it was now off my head on it in his freshman. What's not to love? And he can do a lot of things well. And he's a big guy. These guys that he's running into treats them like Skittles. They just get knocked down and they're just flying through. And it is a fantastic, perfect size for me as a running back as well, around about that 215-pound mark. So yeah, everything ticks for me at the moment, and hopefully has another good season this year for Auburn.
Yeah, I think for me, I was a bit shocked he wasn't a transfer as well, because not only for all those transfers that you mentioned, Matt, but we've started seeing a lot more movement in the sort of transfer portal. You think about running backs that have moved from lesser programs to more high-profile programs like Jahmyr Gibbs and Zach Evans. So I think the fact that he's done it at Auburn in a tough situation, that's actually a good thing for him, and it just means that it might push him a little bit down your draft boards, but I think that's going to make him a value in your rookie drafts as well. His running back coach is Kellett Williams, who he was an NFL running back, very decent actually. He played for the Bucks, so we had to get the Bucks in because Ali's not here. But I really like Tank Bigsby. 20 receptions, that's a good start. I mean, he can improve on it, but to see that it's showing 3-down potential. I believe it was a SEC Freshman of the Year as well at running back. So plenty to like in his profile, and someone that, again, I'll be targeting. So well done, Joe.
Smashed it. Kev's seal of approval there. That must be 2 out of 2 now. So we'll move on to your third target, Jordan. No pressure, but who's the wide receiver that you're targeting?
It's the first one is Jermaine Burton, who's at Alabama now, transferred from Georgia. He had 2 years at Georgia, where everyone who follows college football or even a little bit knows that Georgia just love running the ball. Don't pass it too much, and but he still managed 400 yards, round about close to 500 in a couple, in one of them maybe, and from 26 and 27 receptions, from 26 were in 2020 and 27 receptions were in 2021. He still managed to get up to 500 yards, which is pretty good. 6 foot, 200 pounds, great size, but that size you'd think he'd be, maybe when it came to route running and things like that, he'd probably be lesser, compared to others. But he's twitchy for his size. He breaks out of the stemmer routes brilliantly. Really makes space for himself. And I think we're going to see Young lean on him a lot, with a lot of people who've left. The wide receiver rooms kind of not bare, I'd say, but like there's a lot of freshmen in there that are unproven, but he is proven at Georgia, and I think if he gets that rapport with Young, especially in spring, as he has done in fall, then he's going to be a number one target for him. And he's another one, a bit like Richardson, if it all falls right for him, even more so than Richardson, because I think it will fall right for Burton. He's going to be, if you're not in Devy leagues and rookie leagues, he's going to be high up, and he'll be a first round pick for sure. I can just see it. He's just got all the stuff that you want from a wide receiver. You just haven't seen it on full show because he hasn't had many catches or receptions at Georgia.
Yeah, I'd love to give you some stick for this pick, but I actually drafted Burton in our most recent draft, so obviously it's going to get a little chef's kiss from me as well. So yeah, being at Georgia, it's a strange program. I think there is untapped potential there, and this move is exactly maybe what Tank Bigsby should have been doing by moving to a different program. But yeah, fair play to Burton for moving to Alabama. He's going to be the lead weapon tied to Bryce Young, who's top 2 QB in Devy. He's going to be a top 2 QB in rookie drafts next off season as well. So I just think a lot of people do a lot of NFL people do helmet scouting. So he's going to go higher than expected in my eyes. I think he's got a hell of a pedigree, hell of a profile. He's going to be the lead guy. So yeah, all arrows are pointing up on Burton. Yeah,
it's like you say. Obviously, he's not going from Georgia to Alabama. It's not like he's obviously getting better for him, but it's two prime teams in college, and like you say, with the helmets scouting. But he's just an all-round talent. You might look at him and think, "Oh, Alabama and stuff is going to be good." He's really good. He's like underrated, I'd probably say, compared to the people that have come through Alabama. And like I say, he's got that twitchiness with the sizes, but like just in contested catches and things like that as well, he succeeds. And like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if he edges closer to the two wide receivers, Butte and Jackson Smith and Jigba. At the back end of the season, them two guys are good, but this Jermaine Burton guy, he just offers you that little bit more with physicality as well.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be an interesting guy. People that maybe don't know too much about Georgia, they're going to look at those stats, two years under 500 receiving yards, and see that as a concern. But like you said, Jordan, when you play for Georgia, we know that that's the team that's going to run the ball a lot. And then going to Alabama, I'm just thinking like last year's players that have transferred over to Alabama. Jameson Williams, obviously completely different in terms of the kind of game that they have, but just transferring over to Alabama, like Kev says, you get these helmet scouts. You tend to find these Alabama wide receivers. They tend to go early in drafts, just thinking guys like Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith. The list endless for these wide receivers for Alabama always seems to produce. So if he is going to be that lead guy over there, be the top target for Bryce Young, then yeah, I think that there's no doubt that he's going to see his value take an increase over the next year. And yeah, if you're in Devy leagues, grabbing him now is going to be a great opportunity, because I think I agree with Joe. I think that value is going to start creeping up, and it's definitely going to be somebody that I'll be looking to grab. So. Yeah, another great one, Jordan, and we're going to stay at the wide receiver position. You've got another great one coming up. I know Kev's quite high on this guy. So who's your next wide receiver that you're targeting?
If any of you disagree with me, I might just have to walk off, because this is my love. Quentin Johnson from TCU. I've always been a sucker for a big guy. Like a big wide receiver. Nico Collins coming out like over here. I was massively crushed on him, but. But this guy's got speed as well. He's ridiculous. You know, he's 6'4". He's not like the biggest like weight. I can't remember what he weighs now off the top of my head, but it's not as big as you think with someone who's 6'4". Is quite slender, but he can. DBs are petrified of this guy in college, and I think there will be, you know, if he can like put it all together in the NFL as well. But DBs give him so much space because he can take the top off him as well. Maybe not like, I'm not saying as fast as Jameson Williams, but he can get past you and make enough distance between the defensive back to make plays. And then they give him that much room. He's got like unbelievable. He can turn on a dime, you know, on these these like comeback routes. You know, he just digs his hips in, and he swishes around because they give him so much space because they're too scared of what he can do behind him. And then you think, oh, I'll just get close to him and he just plucks it out of the air. Just go watch the Oklahoma game last year. I can't remember the defensive back. Oklahoma guy's got it in his hand in the end zone. He just rips it off him. Touchdown. Thank you very much. Quentin Johnson. That's all you have to do is watch that Oklahoma game, and trust me, you'll fall in love with this guy. He's just going to be an absolute nightmare. And I've got nothing bad to say about this guy. And I will not hear anyone say anything bad about him either.
I won't worry, Jordan, because I feel like you're going to get a clean sweep on this one. I know that Johnson's a guy that I really liked. Kevin, in the league that we're in, as a good friend, former co-host Rich, he actually sniped this guy from me in our first ever draft. I was absolutely fuming because I'm just like you, Jordan, obviously just getting into learning about him, and I fell in love with him instantly. As you say, that size 6'4", I believe he's listed 215, something like that. So like I said, not the biggest of guys, but as you say, he's such a monster on the field. He's got that big playability, which you're going to fall in love with a wide receiver, and seeing him mocked a lot in the first rounds as well in the NFL draft. So if you can get that solid draft capital on top of all the things that you've just listed off, Jordan, then he's somebody that I think a lot of us are going to get super excited by come this time next year. Yeah,
I know there's been some past TCU receivers that have gone in the draft recently who haven't done as good. You know, I've not mentioned anyone, Kev, not mentioned any of them, but this guy is really good. Trust me, don't worry. Hang your hat on him. He's going to be amazing.
Love it.
I think with Johnston, obviously the top 3 Devy wide receiver. I'm going to sound like an agent here trying to broker deals, but I think he could have transferred to a better program, a bit like Burton did. But we'll keep him on that offense because actually, even though that TCU team have lost Zach Evans, who's one of the top running backs, he's still looking a pretty decent offense, pretty exciting. But he's going to be obviously the spearhead. He's going to really shine in that offense. I think he's got it all: size, speed, scores touchdowns. The fact that he plays at TCU, that might get you a discount. I think just the quality of the 2023 class, it's going to push great players down the boards, maybe like Quentin Johnson, Tank Bigsby you mentioned. Some of these guys could slide to end of the first, early round 2 in your rookie draft. So, just be mindful of keeping your second round picks and trying to get more second round picks as well, just for any of these guys that might slide out of the first, just based on the massive talent that's in this 2023 rookie class.
Yeah, he's like you said, he could have transferred, and the quarterback play is not the greatest at TCU, but he's shown with even not the best quarterback player how good he is and how reliable he is in this offense. Obviously, I don't know exactly why, like he didn't enter the transfer portal or anything like that, but he just seems like he's the number one target there, and he's the go-to target. So he's probably thinking, I'm getting the ball a lot. You know, TCU are never really in front in games, so they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. So he's probably thought, I'm going to get the production here. I'm safe. Maybe, like I say, that's not me knowing, just me guessing. But I think, like you said, at the end of it, there might be some guys that jump in front of him who had good seasons, and he might slip down. It could be fantastic value for you. And even now, for me personally, you know, you can get him in second. I've even seen too early third sometimes, which is ridiculous, really. But like I said to you, I'd hang my hat on him. I really think he's going to be fantastic at the next level. And that's not because I like DK Metcalf and a Seahawks fan. You know, I like these sort of people. I just think he's going to be really good.
So just how high have you got him, Jordan, in out of these 2023 wide receivers? How high do you think his top 3, like Kev said? Do you think he's getting up there?
Yeah, like with it just being 2023, he's definitely number 3 for me, and that's not me being biased. I just think it's close between him and Burton for me. Them other 2 guys are standout, but in front of him. But I don't think there's a massive amount of, you know, like people are like saying Smith and Jigba and Boutte are like quite far in front. I don't think they're massively in front, and I think they can be caught. I think these guys are quite capable of having good season and pulling. Because I'm not saying they're going to go in front of him when it comes to the draft, but in fantasy purposes, I just think they're a lot closer than people are giving him credit for.
Yeah, no, absolutely love that, and I think we can say 4 out of 4 there, Kev. I think
he smashed it. Honestly,
yeah, I think we absolutely love them guys to target. So with that, we're going to switch to the phase now. See if you can keep your good run going, Jordan. So we'll start with the quarterback that you're fading out of the 2023 rookies.
I think there'll be a couple here there you'll be really upset with him, but the first one I'm not sure. I think I'm safe with the first one. And the guy I'm fading is we mentioned him earlier, Spencer Rattler. He was a Heisman front runner last year, and we all saw what happened with him. There's no question he has the tools. Like he has got a fantastic arm. Obviously, he's not mobile. He can move out of the pocket, but when it comes to a runner, he's not mobile. So, but he is a good passer. He's got the arm, but his discipline, we all know from early age, even before, if you've seen the documentary on Netflix, I'm not sure if it's there anymore. We see what type of person he is. The pressure that he was under last year, caved under that. It's not a good thing to see when the pressure's on top of you and you're caving under it. Such a high profile player. There are even guys booing him. His home team last year, Oklahoma, the fans were booing him. Just didn't. Like I say, it's more that which is strange because he has got a bit of talent there, and it's just I just don't trust what I've seen so far with the things off the field and with the things on the field when the pressure's on him. A new start with him at South Carolina could be great for him. Obviously we will see, but as it stands now, where people have drafted him in the 3rd round, I just can't do it. I think there's people there that are on the up rather than the down that I'd rather draft, like Andy Richardson. Will Levis is a guy as well that obviously we haven't mentioned, but I'd rather draft them who were on the up rather than on the down. And yeah, I might be made to look silly at the end of the season, but it's just how I feel about Spencer Rattler at the moment. If I can get him in the 4th, 5th round, I might take a punt and see if he can turn it around this year. But going into it, it's just something I can't do. Maybe other people can, but just not for me.
Yeah, when we did last year's Devy show, we spoke about the top 2 QBs in college football at that time were Spencer Rattler and Sam Howell, and famously called them the Slug Brothers because they're both pretty slow, not going to bring anything on the ground, not that kind of QB that you really want. This is getting brilliant. This Jordan 5 out of 5, Spencer Rattler, but I just feel like he was highly touted. He lost his job to CJ Stroud, which it was going to happen, I think. Can he bounce back in South Carolina? Probably, but he's not going to be able to save his draft stock now. He's fallen too far behind. There's more red flags there than hope. So he's not someone I'm going after personally.
It's like you said, the red flags then, and the one thing that you said as well. Obviously he's not going to make plays with his legs, and that was the only thing for me last year when it came to Malik Willis. I wasn't a massive fan of Malik Willis. I thought he was a good, but when it came to fantasy, because he can make plays with legs, even before the draft happened, people were talking up, and you could maybe take a chance with him because he could do his dual threat. And because there's so many red flags, and I look at Spencer Rattler when he's not and got that dual threat ability, so it's like even worse for me to push it. It even makes it easier for me to push him further down. Obviously you've been playing fantasy a lot longer than me, but obviously when it comes to dual threat, it can push people up more. Even though they're not as talented as other people, if that makes any sense to some people. I was going to say it, Kev, but I thought no, I've only brought up one wide receiver from the Eagles, so I thought you've had enough today, so I'll just leave it.
I don't like him.
No, I think, like I said, John, the first time I ever heard of Spencer Rattler was from that Netflix show QB1, and like you said, he didn't paint himself in the best light, let's just say, on that show, and it's quite aptly named, to be honest. It was QB1. He was ranked as one of the top Devy quarterbacks, and then just look what happened. His value is completely, it's vanished off the face of the earth at the minute. Like I've said, transferring now, Oklahoma going to South Carolina. It'll be interesting to see if he can regain any of that value. But like you both touched upon, the fact that he doesn't have really any rushing upside, he's really going to have to shoot the lights out in this bounce back season and really put it all together for him to get any of that value back, because like we've said, it seems to have fallen off the face of the earth at the minute. So yeah, definitely a guy that it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year. But like you said, is a fade for me. The fact that he was over at Oklahoma and just couldn't seem to put it together. The issues just going right back to his high school days, that Netflix show, just seeing what kind of character he is. I'm not his biggest fan, so Yeah, I agree with you. He's a fade for me as well, and not really somebody I'll be looking at, to be honest, and unless he does turn it on next year. So, yeah, I think you've nailed it again. You're on a real good streak here, Jordan. So let's see if you keep it going. Going on to a running back now that you're fading for 2023.
Yeah, it started well, didn't it, lads? But this way it might get a bit sketchy for you. You might disagree with me. But the first guy is first of a pair of running backs. It's first one's Devon A-Chain from Texas A&M. Or I know Rich made a joke in our thing where he thought it was acne, but it's not. It's not. That's not how you say it. It's Devon A-Chain. And I do really like him, but for me as a college running back, when it, like I say, I know everyone's different when it comes to how they see people when it comes to fantasy, but running backs, I kind of want mine to be around about 215 pounds, you know, like this, and he's 185 pounds, and you see that in college sometimes he's brilliant, you know, he can break through some tackles, but he does get knocked off balance a lot, he does get knocked down a lot from tackles, and obviously moving on to the next into the NFL, if you don't put on that bulk and you're around about 185 pounds, you're going to need gaps. You're going to need good linemen to make gaps for you if you're going to be successful in it. And that's just something that I look on and running back and I just see it. I'm kind of put off. I would draft him late on, you know, as a flyer. You know, there's a guy who was a fantastic quarterback, and every time I see him, I just think, I bet Matt's going to love this guy. When it comes to fantasy, it's Juice Vaughn. Juice Vaughn's a fantastic running back, but he's just so light, and I just don't know what he's going to do. I know a couple of guys have gone on to the NFL and done okay at a lightweight, but it's very rare, so I just can't draft them too high. And I've seen A-Chain going in the late third, you know, like in early fourth, and it's just too early for someone for that size for me. But like I say, it's no knock on him when it comes to college. He's a fantastic running back in college, but we all know that the NFL is like these guys are a lot bigger. So when you take it off these, and if you're that light, you could be broken in half, to be honest with you. So you got to be careful. But yeah, it's like I say, his ability is there. It's just, it sounds great, just put someone fading just because of the weight. But that's how I see it for running backs, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, you clearly know me too well. You know that I'm a sucker for these smaller running backs. I always seem to gravitate towards them. Obviously, Michael Carter, kind of like Tyler Bader this year as well. These small running backs. For some reason, I think it's when, obviously, I am more analytically sided, but when I do watch film, just seeing these smaller guys nipping around the explosiveness, the agility, making people miss, it's hard not to get excited seeing people do that. But like you said, the hit rate when it comes to NFL, a completely different beast, going from college football to these massive defensive linemen in the NFL. So, yeah, I do get this. You've got to have concerns when it comes to these smaller running backs. I've been bitten in the backside too many times by these smaller guys to learn now. But like you say, he is explosive. He is somebody that if you're into your film, you're going to get excited when you see these flashy plays. He's going to bring those flashy plays. But like you said, I think he's going to need a really big season, given the fact that he's a smaller running back. You know, he's going to get knocks against him for his pass protection. And if he is a smaller back, he's got to prove himself in the running game to be an elite runner, because he's not going to offer much on third downs in terms of the protection that he offers. So it's going to be hard for him to find playing time in the NFL. But it is going to be interesting, obviously. Isaiah Spiller leaving Texas A&M now, but is this opportunity for him to really take the lead role and show what he can do? So definitely somebody I'm probably going to fall in love with him, John. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm probably going to end up falling in love with him when it gets to around to next year before the NFL draft, because I do love myself a small running back. But yeah, it's definitely something that you've got to have concerns with next year.
Yeah, like I say, it's not a knock on him at all. He's a good running back, and he could have some kind of role in the NFL. But when you're drafting 3 or 4 rounds in Devy, these are the guys that you're not looking for. Like, he could be a third down back and he'd be really good at it. You know, he's a decent pass catcher for Texas A&M. And like I say, there is a role for him, but is it going to be fantasy value when you're drafting someone at 3rd and 4th round? That's what I mean. So it's not really saying that, like, I really hate Devon A-Chain. It's just, and when we're looking at high-end picks, he's just not in that caliber. And like I say, Matt, I don't know if you've seen Juice Vaughn, but trust me, every time I see him, I just think of you. So you need to go watch him if you want.
I'll add it to the list, Jordan. No doubt I'll be running the hype train next year.
Yeah, I think with A-Chain, he actually put better numbers than Isaiah Spiller. Obviously, that would have been better if Spiller went like round 1, round 2. He went round 4, so if you're just following the line, maybe Chain will be round 3. Maybe not. It's going to be a tough class for him to break coming out next year if he does come out. There's 5 or 6 really quality running backs there. So will he be day 2? Maybe. He's got the size as well, which concerns. So he's going to have a smashing year to definitely be a top day 2 pick. But the positive is Texas A&M are a team on the rise. They're expected to be challenging in the SEC with that roster, or maybe not now, but next year or the year after. So it's an offense going the right way. He could be a satellite back. It could be a satellite plus. We just don't know. So as much as I like the guy and that he's really explosive, I can see why you would be fading him as well with the concerns, especially at cost and with the draft class that it is.
Yeah, definitely someone that's getting a lot of buzz, I think, this off-season. There's a name that I've seen a lot on Twitter this off-season. So there's definitely a buzz around it. And with that, maybe that's why it becomes a fade, like Jordan said. There's some top running backs coming out of this class next year. So it's going to be hard for him to compete with that top level. So if he does keep getting that buzz, it's going to be hard for him to live up to those expectations. So we're going to now move on to another running back that you've got as a fade, Jordan. Who's the next running back?
I think these next two I'll probably get a bit of stick on in the chat stuff, but a bit similar to Devon A. Chain is I've got Blake Corum from Michigan, who's again at college level he is absolutely fantastic. He once he gets a gap, he's away. He's 200 pounds. Obviously, it's a bit more heavy than A. Chain, so he could put some more weight on. But he's I think I can't remember the size. I think it's 5'7" or something like that. So it's just a lack of power and going on to the next level, the strength and power, he can get knocked back easily. And that's what I'm looking at for a running back. If you can get knocked back easily in college, unless you put some weight on, you're going to do exactly the same in NFL and even worse. So, but again, I don't dislike Blake Corum. I've just seen him going in the third or fourth round a lot. And it's just too high for me for someone that's with his size and the limitations that I see at the next level. But there will definitely be a role for him, and it'd be a fantastic pickup in your rookie drafts. I think that if he hadn't been picked up in your Devy drafts, he'd be a fantastic pickup there. And like I say, he just needs them like a gap scheme. Just needs that where people are going to open them lanes for him so he can go. And obviously, when it comes to drafting, you don't always get that. When it comes to the actual draft.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting about Devy as well, because you've not got a clue where these guys are going to be in a couple of years' time. It could be really favourable or not, but similar thoughts on him. The fact that I see him as a committee back, he's going to be in a committee again this season with another exciting guy, Donovan Edwards, who's ranked pretty much very similar to him despite him being a younger prospect. I think injury proneness, too small to make an impact to the things that stand out for me and for Corum. So while he will have a role in the NFL, he's someone I'd rather not bank. I'd rather go for the elite talent rather than punting on a small guy to get everything to land in his favour.
Yeah, you mentioned Donovan Edwards there. He's a much better pass catcher out the backfield than Blake Corum. He can catch ball, but he's known for drops. And just like when they pass to him, when there's a few people, it's like he's got his eyes on something else and he drops. So if that were in favour of him, he probably could go higher. But it's like you said there, when you're looking at Devy, for me personally, I'm looking at these guys and people who are drafting them third or fourth round, they must be just looking at what they can do in college. But you've got to think that the next level is totally different, to what you're seeing with these guys, So like I've mentioned it numerous times now, if people are getting knocked back, then just think what they're going to be like in the NFL. Granted, they can go into before the thing and put weight on, that can happen, but you're drafting as it is now. You don't know what's going to happen, so you've just got to draft on what you know now, and that's why, unfortunately, I couldn't draft them that high. That's all these two guys, but like I say, they will have a role at the NFL level. We've seen it happen before. But you just got to be sensible when drafting. It's not something we always do. Even I'm suspect for it as well. But just sometimes you just got to really think about the bigger picture when you're drafting guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely noticing a common theme here, Jordan, with the two running backs that you've selected. I mean, it's gone very similar in terms of the size, stature, similar production as well. So, I can see where you're going with the running backs that you're picking. He had a 50-50 split last year with Hassan Haskins. He went in the fourth round, I believe, to the Titans. So potential opportunity there, but like I've touched on, there's obviously Edwards at the running back as well. It could be a committee over there in Michigan. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with these two guys in this backfield and see if we can boost that profile a little bit more. But I think that the thing that you're getting at, Johnny, is when we're saying fade, it's not a fade because you don't like the play. It's more fade based on value and where the current value is. Like I touched upon, both these guys getting a bit of buzz this off season, and I think it's more that you're saying fade the current value rather than the actual player. It's not a knock against the play. It's just the concerns given the fact that they're now getting that little bit of bump in value and that little bit of buzz. But yeah, I think you've nailed it, to be honest. We see the common theme there with the running backs. So we're going to get you to fade a wide receiver that you're going to fade now. Get away from these small running backs that's breaking my heart that you keep bringing up and knocking against Jordan. So let's say you're a wide receiver that you're fading.
I feel you're going to dislike me even more with this one. I think a lot of people are going to dislike me. I'm going to get so much heat for fading this guy. But it's Josh Downs from North Carolina, and a lot of people have this guy as wide receiver 3, and so that's why I'm going to get a lot of heat for this. But he's a slot guy. That's always straight away. Like, I'm kind of looking and thinking, right, slot guy. What can he do if he's a slot guy? If that's where he's going to play, and he's explosive. Once you get the ball in his hand, he can do a lot with it in college, but when he gets his ball in hand, it's always off slant routes, always on in routes. That's all he's got. And even though the NFL love these type of guys, so he could get, like, he probably will get high draft value. We just look at the guys that have gone before. I know you've got like on your notes a guy who's done all right, but there's so many guys who just haven't, and I just can't trust them going forward. I know Josh Downs. A lot of people say, well, Josh Downs is better than these guys, and he could be. But if you can only win on in routes and like just getting the ball in your hand quickly, yeah, I might look really stupid if he can do it in NFL, but again, it's just something I can't trust because NFL is totally different when it comes to coaching and things like that as well. There's, I love college football. I'm not taking slack to the head coaches, but everything is like really looked upon even more so. It's massive to win in the NFL, and they're gonna, if that guy's winning on like in routes and like slants, they're going to make sure they're going to stop him from doing it. And then if you stop him from doing that, I just don't see anything else that he can do. He's not, he's not competitive at the catch. It's never going to play outside for me. And 5'10" is never going to play outside. I know some people can, but he just, when it comes to contested catches, you see that he can't. And his route running isn't high end. He's just, like I said, mentioned, there's a certain routes. Like I say, at the end of the season, I might look back and go, you know what, I was wrong on that guy. He's really bumped it up this year, and he's worked on a lot of things that I don't like. But I don't know how you two guys feel about slot guys in the NFL. It's just more. There's just more losses than there is hits, especially in the last 2 years. Going into the NFL.
Yeah, to be honest, John, I just keep laughing. You keep saying about how it's all the slants. I'm thinking Michael Thomas, Slant Boy. We got Slant Boy Junior here in Joshua Downs. Never laugh that. But yeah, I mean, coming in hot, John, and coming off that really incredible season that he had, just over 1,300 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. I know I really like Sam Howell. Obviously, that's not played out too great in terms of where he went in the NFL draft, but obviously being a fan of Sam Howell and Michael Carter connections, I think I'm a secret North Carolina fan. So you're really going against me, Jordan, on this one. Really impressed with what Josh Downs did last year. But like I say, it's going to be interesting talking about Sam Howell. Obviously, didn't go his way in terms of the NFL draft, but he's losing his number one quarterback, that star quarterback. So there's concerns on his quarterback play. It's going to be a completely new start with a fresh quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out next year. But yeah, Slant Boy Junior. Let's see what he can do in the NFL.
Yeah, like I say, he's one guy that I might look silly on, and I'm okay with that. We always look silly with certain players, but I just maybe it's just me that's just not a slot guy. Maybe it's just me that's got a bias against them that's worse. And I'm happy to, if anyone sends you any comments, lads, that's nasty, send them my way. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a complete fluke tonight, but I'm wearing that Tar Heel blue tonight. I'm actually looking like Sam Howell from last season, but that's a different story. I just think with Josh Downs' production speed, he's a smaller guy, so slot is looking like where he will be. But the guy I wrote down is Elijah Moore. I think he could have a career like him. He could get draft capital, top 50 maybe. So yeah, I'm higher than you, Jordan, but he's obviously not going to be right up at the top of these wide receiver ranks, just with the bigger guys, the talented guys playing at better programs. And you've got to take it with a pinch of salt that no one's really hit from North Carolina recently, have they, Matt? Javonte.
Yeah, the one guy that I didn't like.
Do you like him?
You were all right, but we know Michael Carter really. What a great way to end that segment, Kev. Just absolutely dagger to the heart there on me. I really appreciate that. But
I feel bad
no,
now.
love that, Jordan. That was obviously great to get the guys that you're targeting and fading. But now we're going to move on to the exciting part. It's the wildcard section where we're going to get you to give the player that you think's going to be a fantasy wildcard, the guy that's going to improve the dynasty value the most in 2022. So, Jordan, who's your wildcard selection?
I actually gave Kevin a Devy guy first. I went, is that what I'm doing? So he's doing Devy. And he went, oh no, you need an NFL guy. And I'm like, oh damn, it's going to be even worse. So I'm just like, I mentioned the guy to him. And I went, am I right to have this guy? Because I'm looking at everyone else's and I think this guy's already quite good. But it's DJ Moore from the Panthers. And yeah, I've always been a massive DJ Moore fan, coming out of when he came out of college. And I think the last couple of years, especially he's finished 23rd and 18th, I think it was. Wide receiver, in fantasy, and that's like with all yards. I think he's never had a season with more than 4 touchdowns, which is incredible. And he still managed to put up them type of 18th and 23rd with 4 touchdowns. For me, is great. You probably know more about dynasty than me when it comes to this, so you're probably thinking, well, it's not that great anyway. but for me, it looks great, and I think obviously the big news with Baker coming in, the people he had before was Darnold, PJ Walker, Teddy Bridgewater, and it was Cam Newton won it for a little bit. So no matter how bad you think Baker is, some people, there's going to be an upgrade if he puts it all on on paper. Just getting into the red zone, you look at the numbers, red zone percentage. Baker's not amazing, but he's a lot better than these guys that have come before. So if he can get up to just say 10 touchdowns going on and keep that yards, because if you get I don't have the numbers or anything. I don't know if anyone knows them, but he must be up there with when you get the ball in his hand, balls after the catch. He must be up there with like high end, because once you get the ball in his hand, he's fantastic, and he can play all over the pitch. And yeah, if Baker and him can get a rapport, I just think I could see him being pushed into the top 10. A top 10 wide receiver, and I'm blooming up so because I've got a lot of him everywhere. So maybe it's just one of these picks where I'm just hoping and like trying to orchestrate it into being a good wildcard pick. But it's probably not as good as other people's picks. And I know it isn't compared to others, but it's the best I could do under short notice because I had a Devy guy.
Yeah, that's my fault. That for saying no, you can't have a secret Devy guy. We're not going to mention that Devy guy's name just so you can keep him under your job, but. DJ Moore, I think the community love this guy, but it's just when is he going to pull it all together? We're now hoping that the combination of Baker Mayfield and Matt Rule make it happen. I'm not sure it will happen this season. I think last year McCaffrey was missing and he didn't sort of have that amazing breakout. He was actually used in the completely wrong way last season. They made Robbie Anderson sort of a high volume slot sort of guy, and they made DJ Moore sort of a deeper guy. So yeah, Matt Rule's a big issue there. I think DJ Moore's got potential to be a 160 target type of guy. If he was in a place like Dallas, I think he personally deserves to be where CD Lamb is in dynasty rankings. I think he'd outproduce CD Lamb in Dallas, but I think for me with DJ Moore, he's someone that I would like to target in a rebuild, thinking year 2, year 3, because I'm not sure this regime will be here next year. Baker might be with a better coach, but you just have to see how this season goes. If I am targeting DJ Moore, I think moving off a guy like Cooper Kupp and getting a 23-second would be enough for me to move off Kupp and sort of plan for the future with DJ Moore.
Yeah, definitely. Like Jordan said, he's a guy that always produces in terms of the yardage. He puts up 3 years now with over 1,100 receiving yards. It's just those touchdowns, isn't it? 14 in 4 years. It's not great numbers, and it's what's holding him back in fantasy. Jordan, you said how much you liked. I've really liked him ever since he came into the NFL. Obviously, a first round pick. Puts up the numbers in terms of yards, just can't seem to get those touchdowns together. Signed that big 3-year deal extension onto his contract, so at least now we know he's got that security. I mean, whether we like the situation that he's in currently in Carolina is another question. You've just touched upon the fact Baker Mayfield coming there. I personally quite like Baker Mayfield landing in that situation, just in terms of for Baker, like you touched on, Jordan, the fact that he's such a yak monster. I know I ain't got the figures either in front of me, but I know for a fact he's one of the top wide receivers in terms of yards after the catch. So all Baker's got to do really with him and someone like McCaffrey as well is just get the ball to him. So I think Baker can be an improvement for him. Seeing the hype, I know Kev, you're not a big advocate of getting too excited by his training camp hype, but seeing there's been a lot of connection between Baker and DJ Moore and in the red zone especially. So I personally will get a little bit excited by it. I think it's going to be interesting to see if Baker does get the job. If we can finally see some touchdowns for DJ Moore, and if so, I think it's a great selection, to be honest, as a wildcard pick. So you've got the seal of approval from me, Jordan. Kev seems to be a bit on the fence at the moment, but I think that's more down to the situation rather than the player. But that brings us to the end of the show. We've discussed all things Devy. So Jordan, before we let you go, please do let the audience know where they can find you, anything that you're currently working on or that you want to plug.
Yeah, you just find me, like I say, on Twitter, Jordan87, and obviously the No Huddle podcast, which, funny story I'll get in quickly, is I didn't actually want to do it at first, and he kept bugging me, James, and I ended up doing it, and I've kind of put the Devy on the back burner, but hopefully we'll be back with 5 yard and doing some Devy writing, through the season, once I get settled down. And obviously, find me make sure you follow 5 yard rush as well. Obviously, still part of that, even though I'm not doing much production at the moment, but fantastic bunch of lads as well over there. So all them guys, follow their work too.
No, love it. And Kev, any final thoughts on today's show?
I mean, it's been a cracking show, on it. Thanks for Jordan for coming on, first of all. A bit of pressure, actually, because last year we had a guy on and he picked out a few stars, our old coach, Rich. So I think you've easily smashed him. You've done a lot better than he did last year. Easily, actually. But it's obviously Devy's something that's growing. Following guys like Jordan are going to really help your knowledge. Playing in Devy leagues, make sure you're in a few. Give it a try. Make sure you're following loads of decent people. Join a Patreon if you need to get rankings, but Jordan mentioned a few there as well. Undroppables, really good as well. I mean, what could go wrong? Let's just finish on Jordan. Actually,
I just think that like you've said that Rich will probably be on next year after all the selections just flopped.
I'm just going to say, like, Jordan's a perfect guest. He's a Yorkshire lad.
Absolutely.
He's born in 1987. I mean,
I know. So I'm surrounded by old people.
Honestly.
No, I'll just echo what Kev said. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jordan, having you on. Big fan of your work and stuff. Always looking to pick your brain when it comes to Devy and everything. And you're crushing it obviously with the podcast as well. So it's been great having you on. Like I touched on earlier, I think we've given targets and fades. A lot of it, it's not that we hate the players or even to an extent that we love the players. It's more the value currently that you can get with these guys in Devy. So I think it's been a really, really exciting show to talk a little bit of Devy. As I say, me and Kev maybe not quite up to par with somebody like Jordan. So it's great having you on and sprinkling that bit of knowledge, making us look better than what we actually are, Jordan. So we appreciate you coming on, mate, and it's been a lot of fun. And with that, thank you for tuning in. And be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Wildcard. Also, if you could leave us a 5-star review, we'd really appreciate it. And really helps us get an exposure to a wider audience. So thank you for that. And be sure to join us on this next show, Tuesday, the 9th of August, where we welcome on the Fantasy Wildcard Rewind team. So getting more. Mike, we should do that. That's some kind of combination of all three names. Mags, Paul, and Hannah. We're going to get them on to do the flag plant show, which is always a lot of fun. It's always a great show. So looking forward to that. So thank you once again. Have a good one, and we'll see you again soon.